Yeah, that's awesome sauce. All right, everybody.
Aw-
So, welcome to another episode of Pivot Play podcast, and I'm here with Harry Bitzberger, my longtime buddy, friend. Hey, Harry.
Hey Jerry, how you doing?
I'm just dandy. So
Good.
typically the way I start these things off, because so far, the episodes have been with people I've had some relationship with. So what's your recollection of how we met, how we became friends?
We met at the golf club, the golf course, and I think we were just hitting balls one night. Started chatting, and then you said, "I'm going to go walk 9. You want to go?" And I went with you. And I think that was pretty much the first time, and we
Right.
played 9 before,
Who-
like literally, like finished in the dark 9. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So do you remember who won?
You.
It's possible.
That's
So
been that's a pretty easy answer, actually.
that's it. So I actually no, because I've got my butt kicked several times. 'Cause I don't think I still hit the ball nearly as long as you do. So
Wow.
when you get behind one, it's gone. So
I'm a tiny tot, so not
yeah,
much
right.
power.
Yeah, I have to rely on other skills to remain competitive. So, because as I remember, there were people who did not want to play with me.
Nope, nobody likes left-handers.
Okay, is that what it is?
um, that's their problem. It's either their problem or our problem, and it ain't our problem, right?
Yeah. But
So
that's one of the things that I remember though, in terms of our friendship and bond, is that you befriended me when other people decided they would not do that in that environment, right? Because
sure,
nobody there is a charity case, right? You're there because you can afford to be there and whatever, and you know, so
yeah. Well, it's not a super. It's actually kind of a working man's club. So I mean, it's not hoity-toity or any
right.
crazy thing like that, but yeah, you have to have some dough in order to play. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. So,
fair, fair.
but my point is that's one of the things I've always appreciated about you, is that just the willingness to be your own person, and stand behind your principles and what you believe, and no one's really going to be able to persuade you to do something you don't want to do, or behave in a way that's just not your choice. So
So we have that's you know, I guess that's part of what we'll talk about today, right?
yeah, right,
Good,
right. So
right?
when we met, um, let's see, you had boomers, and the moon
Mo-
bounce
Yeah, Moonbounce
company.
Adventures, Moonbound. So I had 3 indoor kiddie places. They were all
All right.
inflatable moon bounces, parties, all that stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
we had an outdoor rental business. So we would deliver them to people's homes. And we had a large event business. So we would do events for like Villanova and Westchester universities, Hers Foods, larger corporations. Um, yeah. So and then we had a really big facility, and it had we had put laser tag in it. Had mini golf, had a driving range, had a pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
So we had scaled it up over time. We started at zero. Literally, my wife and I were on the computer one night, made the decision to start the business, and bought our first couple items on eBay. You know, and said, let's give it a
So
spin.
wait a minute. Let me be clear. So the moon bounce sort of side of the world came before the driving range.
It did.
Okay. So that piece I get, but so in terms of where your ideas come from, because another thing I remember, you said you used to sell suits, right? So
Yes.
you've done a bunch of things. So I kind of look at you as a serial entrepreneur. I don't know if you consider yourself to be that.
I would. Yeah. I would say later. I kind of went the corporate route initially. So I went to military college, and then after that, I went into the military for 4 years. When I came out of there, I did the healthcare industry for 10 years.
Hmm.
Worked for a bunch of the, three of the bigger healthcare companies in the world, selling,
Hmm.
so I sold diagnostic testing, I sold surgical tables, I sold surgical lights, instruments, custom packs for heart procedures and various other
Right.
procedures. So I lived in that world for about 10 years. Then I uh, was back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I was going through, healthcare was going through some upsizing, downsizing, resizing, re-engineering,
I remember that
right?
was under the Clinton administration,
Yes,
under
yeah.
under the dare that they would make some changes. People just start freaking out. I remember
Yeah,
that.
right. So as a result of that, every November you started calling your sales reps and telling them that I had good news is I have 15 slots left for next year. Bad news is I have 20 people and you're competing for one of those 15 slots.
Right.
And then after we did all that, right before Christmas, we would get to go into Chicago and interview for our own positions. So 4 years of that, and I said, "Geez, what the heck am I doing?"
Right.
I had recently moved back to Philadelphia. I was in Texas for about 6 years. Moved back to Philly. Didn't want to get stuck, uh, beholden at age. I was watching all the more senior guys get thanked and given a package and sent away. So I thought I might be able to control my destiny in different ways. So I joined a company called Tom James that was literally face-to-face sales. So I was
Hmm.
dealing with the user, and it was pure commission sales. We would, you had to find them. So prospecting, cold calling, lots of phone work, uh, soup to nuts, all the way through the entire process. Did that for 10 years. And then I
So
started the other stuff too.
so let's dig a little bit there. So you go from one situation into a commission only
Yes.
line of work.
Yes.
What? Oh, wow. So one, why did you do that? Secondly, what? How long and how did you develop a pipeline? Right, you have to have people
Yeah.
to sell to, right?
You and I, in previous conversations over the years, we spoke about the old birds of a feather,
Hmm.
flock together kind of thing. So so we were if we were doing it right, we were asking for referrals, you
Hmm.
know, and there was a very scripted manner in which we did it because we wanted to be very specific.
Right.
And when you're in a commission sales environment, your time is really, really precious. So think about a plumber that comes to see you or an HVAC guy. They have limited hours, and if they're coming out, they want to make some dough, So so I was in that environment, and it was foreign to me, but I've I guess I've been a pretty confident guy for my whole life for the most part. Learned a lot from failing. Not
Hmm.
a, was never afraid to fail, but I was actually pretty good at failing, so I got used to it. uh, my wife was amazingly supportive, and fortunately, she is successful and she's educated, and she's kind of the foundation, our family's foundation. She's so in that regard, I was able to try to hit a home run while she was moving, runners from first to second to third base. So,
Right.
I couldn't have done any of it uh, if I wasn't able to rely on her, and she was supportive. And there were times when things weren't going quite as well, and there were times when we had to have some conversations and had to rethink. And
Right.
I my timing was it's ironic that I got out of the healthcare industry, during that timing with Bill and Hillary, right? Because I thought it was unsteady, and then I get into a commission environment selling high, like boutique level, very fine men's garments at a time like mid to late 90s when there was a huge transition going on in America where people who used to wear coat and tie every single day, all of a sudden, those people today, some of them are wearing jeans and ACDC t-shirts to work,
Right.
and you had to hustle, and that actually was the impetus behind us doing the Moonbounce Adventures.
So, but
Doing
there,
the
but there's,
Moonbounce thing.
but so do me a favor though. Don't,
Sure.
so don't, yeah, don't skip over the, so there's a component there, maybe because you've done it a lot, maybe it's simpler for you or you remember it differently, but there's some people who may have one good go in them, right? And
Yes.
if that doesn't work, then, I tried and I'm done. So the idea of something that you would, label as a failure, that's the nail in the coffin for most people. They don't recycle, they don't rethink, they don't regroup, and they don't try again. So what is it that you would say has gotten you to, just yeah, let's there's a certain when you have a new idea, there's a certain excitement that comes with that too, right? And your mind is filled with possibilities. And so
Yeah.
how have you been able to hold on to that?
Well, geez, I operate off of passion. I operate off of uh, a love to do something.
You were saying that you felt that you overachieved early.
Right.
You were talking through that, but was that what drove that? Was that because you were the first? Is because people imposed potential on you? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I actually don't think people. Actually, my father, from um, as far back as I can remember, from my earliest memories of him, it was you're going to go to college, you're going to behave this way, you're going to get your education, you're going to do that. My father coincidentally dropped out of school after his freshman year in high school,
okay,
got his GED, um, went into the military. Um, he was a tremendous influence on me. Um, he at any given time, if you walked into my house growing up, my family we lived in a row home in Philadelphia suburb for half of my growing years, and then we moved to about 5 miles away to a small Cape Cod,
hmm,
and you know, and if you walked around the house at any given time, he'd have 5 books open, you know, and laid down um, on coffee tables, side tables, next to the sink in the bathroom, and I'm talking Chaucer, physics,
hmm,
math, novels. I never met anybody, and I read incessantly. I
okay,
study. I read. I um I love the written word. I love the spoken word, and I got that from him. Very talented guy, and he just told me this is the way it was going to be. So
okay. So
I
you
guess
you were kind of programmed for it.
yeah, I think so. But I never it wasn't a fear of failure. It wasn't a
Hmm.
I need to achieve more than everybody else.
Right.
You know, I think I've always been very comfortable with who I am,
Hmm.
um, which is good and bad, because you have to be uncomfortable to successfully make change, right?
Hmm. Yep.
But so that was kind of the impetus, I think.
So we were speaking. I think it may have been earlier today, just about the drivers. And again, I don't know that I was super driven to succeed. I was superbly driven to not fail.
Yeah.
Right. Which, if you outrun failure hard enough, you may just end up at success. The challenge with it, though, is you won't identify the accomplishment. Right. And so that's probably one of the things that I wished I was a lot better at, which was recognizing the things that I've accomplished and doing things like celebrating a success. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I'm not very good at that either. For someone who has spent most of his life trying to be a better person and to try to accomplish things, I've never been very good at celebrating. Actually, celebrating anything. I just don't. It's like, all right, another day, time to rock. Just move on.
yeah,
Since I coach a lot now these days, and as a coach, I get far more satisfaction with watching the accomplishments of the kids I coach. And
right,
first it was my children, and then over the years, I just I have all these kids that I
right,
have hopefully had a positive influence on.
right. So you said that you are driven by passion, right? If you don't have passion for something,
Yeah,
it's not going to work for you. So
yeah,
you have done these different things, and um, but you also talked about sort of this foundational, position that Michelle holds in the equation. But as I know Michelle, I don't know that you guys are wired exactly the
yes.
same way from this passion point of
We're
view.
we're 180 degrees. No, we because we owned, like, let's just call it the boomer business, right?
Mhm,
The moon bounce boomer business, the entertainment business. So we drove that together.
mhm,
Okay, I was the grunt guy I was the face guy, grunt guy, sales guy, and she's an attorney, so she kind of kept us out of trouble. I bring the money to her. um, but she did the banking, she did the books, she did the QuickBooks. So she ran all the inside stuff. I was the outside stuff. We used to joke that I was the accelerator and she was the brake,
ah,
right?
okay,
And that's you cannot underestimate the value of that, right? I certainly have never underestimated that. As a matter of fact, through the years, as I assess me and assess the others around me, one of the things I think that people are wired more like me. I have a true people orientation versus a task orientation. My wife has more of a task orientation. I would say you have more of a task orientation. Um, uh, I have found that many people with that wiring,
mhm,
whether it's God given or environmental or learned over the years, I think they don't always understand people like me. You know what I mean? Like I admire you because of your task orientation, your ability. You're always thinking. You're always your mind's always going. You're always trying stuff.
yep,
But I think it's your ability to do that and effectively communicate with people and seek uh, the truth, maybe, through other people. I think that's what truly differentiates you and truly makes you a special person, at least a special person in my life, because
huh.
many people have difficulty balancing that, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. You kind of talked about being task oriented. So, and I'll just hopefully we don't lose people with this, but you'll get this. Um, you've seen my good play and my struggles, even when it comes
sure.
to golf. What I've learned though is I am more task oriented, right? So
Yeah.
if you say to me, just hit this ball, there's times when I can hit that ball. If you say hit that ball over that tree or around that thing, then I'm immediately more focused on being able to do something that without some level of complexity I struggle with. I don't get that, but I've learned that more and more about myself.
Sure.
I need hard things. I need
Yeah,
difficult.
the complex. Yeah, absolutely. And well, it's not as worthwhile anyway if it's not harder,
Right.
right? You know,
I mean, some days I'd like to just go around the golf course and just play easy golf, and
well, you're
I'd like to go to work and have easy meetings and simple projects. I think I could do a little bit of that from time to time.
yeah, and I think everybody's wired that way. I think everybody would like a little easier day. And any positive trait when taken to an extreme becomes a negative.
Right.
Uh, so some of it is we're just kind of who we are, right? And there's a part of me that will accept me for who I am, and there's another part that if I want to become better, I just can't tolerate that part of me.
Right.
But right, but I struggle and then find myself back there again. That's why the
Yeah, I
diet
totally get it.
industry. That's why the diet industry and the fitness industry exists.
But there's an aspect of, man, you just made me think about something. So, I've been a part of things in my life where I set out to do something and it's not over yet, but I already know this is not going to work out.
Yeah,
I'm fully invested, right? And so let's say it's the third quarter, you're getting blown out. How do you face the fourth quarter with resilience? Because you're likely to lose. Like this has happened with us in golf. If it's match play or even stroke play, if I'm down by 8, unless you just start hitting balls into the woods, I'm gonna take an L here, and I want to be able to get through that, hopefully with some dignity but you know what I'm saying. But there's other bigger games in life that we play that we're into it, and it's like that this is not going to go the way that you had hoped.
right.
What kicks in with you? Because I've never seen you bail on anything, right? How do you walk down difficult fourth quarters in life?
Um, so, boy, that's really complex. That could be like a 7-day conversation, right? It'd be more fun over adult beverages, but I mean, it's hugely complex. There's no linear answer to that. I would say that's when you kind of find out who you really are, right? I have a tendency to think in terms of stories, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you've played golf with my son when he was very little, right? And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
your son and myself, and we went out and played, and you know, I remember he was 12, 13 years old, and he became a pretty good golfer. He got to the point where we were playing 9 holes, and he was beating me by a couple strokes with a couple holes left, and he put so much pressure on himself to beat me,
Mm-hmm.
and he just blew up. And so it was, we were only going to play 9, and he blew up. So I beat him. I come in, whatever ahead of him, and he's I'm done. Wants to run off, and I'm like, no, dude, we're going to finish.
Right.
This is you. No matter what, dude, you're going to finish. And literally about 3 days after that, I played in the Make-A-Wish tournament here at Penn Oaks,
Mm-hmm.
and I shot a 77, which qualified me as one of the low amateurs to play with the pros the next day. Tee off on the first hole, hit 3 OB, took a 13.
What?
Yep. Second hole, took an 11. Third hole, took a 9. Okay. Right.
Okay, I don't have a calculator, so I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't track that because I thought there was going to be one high score. I didn't know you were going to follow that up
Yeah.
with
No.
two others.
So I had just shot a 77 the day
Right.
before. So I'm booting them. I'm booting the ball all over the joint. There's 2 pros. I'm playing with 2 pros. And the one pro comes over and he goes, listen, nobody would think any less of you if you walked off the course right now. Now, I don't know if he said that for me to save face or for him to save the disgust of having to play 15 more holes with me, right? But he said it, and I sat there and said, you know what? I said, 3 days ago, I had my son out here, and I told him, you started it, you finish it. And I said, so if I shoot 200 today, I will play 18 holes. And the dude looked at me and he said, good for you. And, I finished with like a 108. Right.
Right. And I know there's probably a lot of non-golfers who don't understand that you shot 77. And that there are many golfers who play their entire lives and never shoot less than 100.
Yeah.
Right. So even around in the 80s, like low 80s, puts you firmly in the top 3 to 5% of golfers in the world.
Yeah.
You shot a 77, which places you in the first 1 to 2% of golfers in the entire world.
And on that particular day.
On that particular. But it means that, but this is the point though. And I don't want to drag this into a golf thing again, because some people won't get it. But there's demonstrated ability there, right? It's not like you walked up like, oh, I just shot the best round of my life. You just played a game that you felt you were more capable of. And now you're in another situation where early on, that goal is far out of your reach. Like before you get to the 5th hole, like it's extremely unlikely, and you got 13 more holes to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not.
So this is what I'm talking about: that resilience to walk down, the resilience to walk down, a difficult 4th quarter in life and do it with your dignity intact and do it proudly, but also do it in such a way like I'm sure you didn't shoot 108 and then go sell your clubs in the parking lot, right?
No, I did not.
Right. You showed up and you teed it up again. I think, I believe that part of your character is the one that probably that resilience, and I think I was naming this episode Managing Risk, right? And that's because you tried a bunch of things, and there's amazing potential, but there's always some risk that has to be managed, mitigated, or eliminated in some way. And I think
right, or not. There's some jobs that there's just inherent risk associated with it, and you have to learn to manage your way through it.
Right.
I think that typically if you're seeking the easy way out, you have to have a lower expectation on what's going to go on in life.
Right.
I think that there were times, I certainly know that there are times that it's been an additional stressor on my marriage. It's been an additional stressor on my relationship with me. I don't think it has affected my relationship with my children. I think I've had an ability to kind of compartmentalize things to that extent. But it has led me to search in other areas to find, like additional passions. So I'm not a one-trick pony. I can't do a 9-to-5 gig. I can't.
Why? It's so much fun. What do you mean you can't?
Well, there's
I'm kidding about that.
Well, I mean, there are people that they can get up in the morning, do the basic blocking and tackling, and do a very good job, be very efficient, very effective, bring money home, bring home the bacon, whatever you want to call, and have a very satisfying life. Just not wired that way. My dad was all over the joint. I was all over the joint. I think I'm a lot like him. ADD. I'm a multi-potentialite. I seek. It's actually a term. It's I seek things that I can be good at, and there are a lot of things that I can be good at, and I can be like really good at.
Right.
But then it doesn't necessarily hold my attention. Or,
but
you know,
coaching has to this
it
point.
has, yeah, it has. It's because my goal is more on everybody else. You know what I mean? It's you've in your time you've met very successful business people that are fantastic. They could give a lick about other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I think that's a hollow existence, right? To me, true satisfaction comes from A, being able to replicate yourself. So if you start a business, being able to build it and add other people and have them enjoy it as well, or with a family, same kind of thing. So with me, I get immense satisfaction coaching when I recognize the potential in somebody and I help them um, to the point where they can achieve something, you know. And I've been coaching long enough that um, I've had feedback from kids who were like, you know, you're the best thing. You know, like you, it was because of you that I've done this,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
and that's worth more money than anything in the world, you know,
Right.
but doesn't feed you,
Right.
you know, might get you a couple beers at the bar, you know, or a night out or something, but it doesn't feed you. So,
Right.
so there's that balance piece. And, um, you know, and again, it's one of those things where I've had to rely on my relationship with my wife, you know, in that regard as well. Cause she, you know, she can say, hey, dude, yeah, no, not happening. So, well,
And
you know, once you know, you add people into your life, you know, it changes the dynamic. You know, the
right.
calculus is different. So,
Right. Yeah. Sure. So, is there? Well, you know what? I'm going to save that question. I'll make that our last question. But so when you think about influences, lessons, I believe that life is pivotal, right?
yes,
So as human beings, we make thousands of decisions a day.
yes,
There's actions that we take. Some of them can be subconscious, but there's still the effect of some level of programming or habit. But so given the thousands of decisions that you can make in a day, I'm still a firm believer that life is so pivotal that we could point to no more than 5 decisions that we've made in our lifetimes that would have sent us down a completely different track and potentially changed who we are, right? That could
yeah,
be the decision to go to school, not to go to school to go to, who to befriend, who to marry, first job, all those things. When you look back at them, at least when I look back at my life, I wonder had I have made different decisions where I may have ended up. But I believe it's not a huge number out of the thousands of decisions that we make. So I'm saying all that to kind of wanting you to angle into really the most profound influences. Like I said, you spoke about your father, but beyond that, the most profound influences or lessons that have really helped to shape who you've become.
um, I at some point early in my early teen years, I recognized that I had to leave the Philadelphia area if I wanted to become a let's say a different person, not necessarily a better person, a different person.
Hmm.
I think I would have fallen prey to the same influences had I stayed here. Um, so I had to go away. That was a
Hmm.
very pivotal decision on my part. Um, I literally begged. I was not a good student in high school. I was not. You know, I played ball. I was, you know, I did every, you know, did all every extracurricular. I did. I just wasn't a good student. I just couldn't focus. I couldn't. I just wasn't there. I begged, literally begged, to get into VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. Um, I will give that credit for everything. If I have had any success, those 2 decisions were that was it. And I was very fortunate that I had people who took me under their wing and looked out for me. my mother's father, my Uncle Tom, he's still with us. He always believed in me. He and my Aunt Joan always supported me. Um, so I had some very strong role models, male role models, which was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to VMI, that continued. I had folks that kind of literally took me under their wing. It was weird. I was very fortunate. I got my freshman year. I was elected class president. Small class, 400
Right.
dudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a very big school. I was elected class president, and then it almost kind of set the course for me. Um, People just always looked out for me. People listened to me.
Mm-hmm.
People respected me. I had influence. And weird in the world we live in today. I'm out of school over 40 years. I graduated in '82, and I still make decisions as class president. Going in the Air Force was very significant. My lifelong friend, another huge influence in my life. We didn't even like one another when
Mm-hmm.
we were at VMI. We went to VMI for 4 years. My buddy Daryl. We didn't even like one another. We became fast friends in the Air Force. And then we've maintained a really true connection ever since, to the point where his youngest and my son, I'm his youngest's godfather and he's my son's godfather.
Right.
Uh, so, uh, so I literally would have to say the decision to leave the area and then to go to VMI set the course for everything else in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some kind of weird stuff that happened. My mom got very sick in the early '90s, and that brought me back here. I have two children from my first marriage who moved back here, and I was commuting for a while. And then when my mom got really sick, it was like, Lord's telling me something here. I
Mm-hmm.
gotta get back.
Right.
Um, I was doing amazingly well in Texas. I was very successful in Texas. I love Texas. I would move back to Texas tomorrow. Okay. But I had to come home here and it was the right move. And I was fortunate because I met my wife here. And we've been together 25 years and I have two more wonderful children. And, so that it's in a nutshell. That's kind of it. It wasn't much more than that. And a lot of it
Well,
was just good fortune, I think,
but so that's and to my point though. So because there's a lot of days, right?
hmm
Um, in between those decisions, those moves, and those new realities. And I think you saw the first part of the episode I did with Eric Satterthwaite. We were the
Absolutely.
Zero that did the Heroes, and he mentioned the book. You mentioned, I think it was Dale Carnegie's How to
Yeah.
Make
He
Money.
said how I raised myself, the Fletcher book, how I raised myself from failure to success. Great
Mhm.
book. I
Right.
mentioned Dale Carnegie. I was an avocational instructor for Dale Carnegie for about 10 years after I moved back here. So I would teach folks at night, after
Okay.
working. And they were working people, um, who were, most of them were trying to improve themselves. There were others who were there because their boss was saying like, you're going to take this. But it was not unusual to have like 50 people in the class, like dudes that were like, I'm here because I have to be here. And
Right.
those are the hardest folks to get to engage in anything, you know?
Right.
And there was one very pivotal, um, kind of like, phrase that Carnegie, uh, uses, and that is when it comes to instruction, it kind of, motivate or inspire, motivate, then teach.
Hmm.
Right? Inspire, motivate, then teach. So it's more of a universal application. It helps you learn how to treat people, not just make more money or not be more successful in business.
Okay.
And I really believe that that's the key
Right.
to everything.
So
You know, um, So,
So I'll ask you this then. Finally, is there another new venture in there?
as soon as you and I figure it out.
Oh, I got some ideas. It's
Me
funny though,
too.
but one of the things, and this would be something completely different. But I think I may have told you I'm really considering just going to get certified so I can teach golf. Right.
Sure.
I love the game. I love to teach. But I think I would teach and consult. I'd love to have um sort of a mastermind, right? Just do the business in a box thing, right? And people bring us their ideas, and yeah, because I think it's when people have a new idea, they can be so just sort of starstruck, right, that they miss all this sort of infrastructure that has to go into
That,
building a business. I'd like to be
yeah,
part of something like that,
that
right?
would, yeah, like to me, that would be fantastic. You don't always lay the right foundation. And that was one of the things that was so wonderful when Michelle and I were building our business was she's very like if her alphabet, okay, is A B C D E F G H I J K, right?
Hmm.
Well, I really don't need a D in my alphabet. So I can go A
Right.
B C and then, like L and M, kind of throw that in and then I'll roll back to E F G later on and then
Hmm.
I'll go to X V W, right? So our minds are completely different. We're wired completely differently and she has always been the person that grounded us. Um and so and you have to be respectful of that, right? And so over the years, I've learned sometimes the hard way, fail forward kind of stuff. A lot of times the hard way,
Right.
that there could be a better way to do it, you know? And so that I think that's important. And I think that that would be very satisfying for you. Love to
Oh
be
yeah.
involved in that.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's one of those things where it's at some juncture as you're doing this and you're getting creative and you're trying to find your way and you take risk or you don't take risk, you have to find a way to forgive yourself,
How?
because a non-decision is still a decision,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody offers you a job. I've had a lot of job offers and I've turned them down, over the years. And after the fact, gone, "Ooh, man, like,
Right.
oh man,
Yeah.
and some I went, ooh, good thing I didn't do that.
Right.
But ultimately, you have to just kind of make an educated judgment. If you have folks you can bounce things off of and speak with that know the real you, you have those conversations, But then ultimately, you have to forgive yourself if you screw up because you're gonna.
Yeah. So let me say, you just made me think of something, Harry, is that, being able to operate in an environment of trust and transparency is super critical, right? And I
Yes.
think people may have someone or persons in their life that could be much more benefit to them if they didn't bring their masks into those conversations. If they didn't bring sort of those self protective mechanisms and really just, you know, just be vulnerable, lay it out there, the good, the bad, what you're excited about, what concerns you, what scares you. I think then people are able then to get the most out of some of these assets that they have in terms of people and their wisdom and experience. So you just made me think about that. I know, people have come to you like they come to me, and sometimes they're into it. It's like they're not telling me everything. They're not telling me the things they probably should, where I can probably really help them.
No, it's true. I had a friend that once told me that everybody over the age of 15, when you meet them for the first time, they walk in the door with every piece of baggage. I could be the most honest guy you've ever met in your life, but if everybody before me, okay, has just screwed you, stabbed you in the back, lied to you all along the way, you won't believe I'm that guy. So the alternative is to try to be vulnerable, try to be open-minded and vulnerable to that. But then you leave yourself in a position where you could get filleted right in the middle of the table, right?
Hmm.
So it can be a dangerous decision, and you have to make sure um, that you're trusting the right people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there's a litmus test there. I'll give you that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and for me, I am very much. I'm not a very guarded person. Um, what you see is what you get. I say stupid things. I try to be funny when maybe I shouldn't. Um, I I don't hold stuff against somebody. It's funny because when you're coaching, kids that are 12 to 22, you know, um, their parents can be a little bit to take, right? And there are whole lot of coaches, generations of coaches
Right,
that have held the kids accountable for their parents' behavior.
right.
And
Wow.
I refuse to do it. I won't do it. The kid's not going to pay the penalty for mom or dad's behavior, you
Right.
know. But but those are hard conversations, and it's again, you have to be grounded. You have to know who the heck you are. You have to be fair. You have to have some principles that you really
Right.
truly believe in.
Right.
If you want to be that kind of person, or I decided that's kind of the person I want to be.
Right.
And there are times it's wonderful, and there are times I pay the price, and I'm sure there are a bunch of folks think I'm a horse's ass out there. That's I got to live with that part too.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. They're not all fans.
no,
And
no,
this sort of this generation of discontent individuals uh, will always find something they don't like or appreciate about you, no matter
yeah.
what your intentions are. And so,
I have great hope. I really have great hope. I know we're going through a bunch of difficult times, in society and all that kind of neat stuff. You and I certainly have come from different places.
sure.
I think remarkably, anybody that listens to this, they probably don't know all the similarities.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What
Because
between us?
everybody, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
well, we look so much alike. I mean, there's that. I mean,
Well, handsome's
we can,
handsome.
yeah, yeah,
No, but I mean, it's I think there's a tendency for people to see things a certain way and
mhm,
not dive much deeper and not be interested enough and just be satisfied to say, well, he's there and he's that.
right.
And I've certain, you know, in many of the conversations I've had this year about everything, I said the most important people in my life, the people I love more than myself, okay, I don't always agree with them.
Right.
I often disagree with them,
Right.
but they're still the most important people in my life,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and other folks just don't see it that way, I
Right.
guess, but I have great hope. I think we'll be all right. I think we can do it. I may be super naive,
Well,
but
maybe.
maybe not,
I mean, unless the whole thing is about to implode, right? I think you have to. There
there are
does
those that think it
there's a
will.
place for hope. I think that I vacillate between the hopefulness I have for humanity, because and this is what I think some people don't know about me, is like, in my heart I am so compelled by human potential and what people can do with these amazing gifts and talents that they've been given, and what impact that could have on humanity. So I am extremely hopeful for that. The pattern of conditioning and the speed, I think the world is moving maybe too fast sometimes, right? And it's doing a lot of it on the wings of technology.
Yes.
And so it's made the world so small. You know, I, man, if I could, whoever, and I think I know the person who did it, but it's because I think it was CNN who created the 24-hour news cycle.
Yes. Ted Turner.
Is yeah, is no. that was a bad,
Oh, a bad thing.
that was a bad idea. Yeah, because yeah, because now we're just
Less,
making up things to
less
fill. We're
people
making up
controlling
things to
more
fill the time.
ultimately.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Absolutely. And
but
there's so many,
we're
there's lots of
inundated.
stuff out there they're just ignoring. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah,
lot of really great things happening that they're just
yeah.
ignoring because
Right,
it's not a headline grabber.
right.
What it
And
is.
and then of course there's social media, right? Which has been the most amazing thing, but in a lot of ways has some detriment, right? We're able to
Oh,
do this because of the power of social media, right? What we're doing now.
absolutely.
But there's people who have a platform, and a capability through technology to do something like this that has a completely different intended message, right? Who also has an audience. So there's that. So anyway, so we don't take this because I can kind of see our time here. I don't know if you can.
It's okay.
I don't know what you see on your side. I have no idea.
Me either.
But yeah, so part of what Pivot Play is about and bringing on guests is to leave some breadcrumbs. Although I got to say, with most of the stuff you talked about, it's a tremendous breadcrumbs and insights that I think people can use. But again, as we again face this really challenging time, which we don't know how any of this ends yet, right? This is still unfolding in front of us. What would you leave the audience with?
What would I, all right, three things.
Okay.
Okay. Feel free to write them down. Number one, I have been keeping a journal since 1983 of quotations that I find inspiring. Okay. From every source imaginable. Doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. I get them off of sitcoms. I get them off of reporters. I get them off of dead folks. I preachers. Don't care what religion. Don't care what creed. I don't care about any of that. If I can steal it and use it, I write it down and I use it. Okay. So I would encourage everybody to do something like that, and then go back and read those often, and use them to inspire themselves. Right.
Okay.
So that's number one. Second thing, whenever you're in an environment when people are sharing potentially valuable information with you, okay, you need to ask yourself three questions. All right. What is he or she saying? Two, what does that mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
And three, how can I use it? Okay. What are they saying? What does it mean to me? How can I use it?
Okay.
And that's thanks to my buddy Alan Isaacs, who was a tremendous mentor for 10 years. Or you walk out of something really important. You have to ask yourself this question. Is there anything I could have said or done differently to get a better result? And those would be my three things.
Awesome.
Top of my head. Those would be the three things.
It's pretty good off the top of your head.
Well, I appreciate it.
can
Well,
take that.
I literally, those three things I use every day. And I have since I learned them. And I was very fortunate to learn those.
Cool. So anyway, so I appreciate you coming on. It's an hour later for you on the East Coast than it is for me in the West, on here in the Midwest. So I really do appreciate it, but mostly I appreciate your friendship, and our connection and the tremendous help that you've been to me over the we got years in, man.
Yes, we do. Yeah, no, dude,
We got
it's
years in.
my pleasure. You ever need me, you can call. And I've been blessed to have you in my life. I consider myself very fortunate. It's been a privilege, and I'm so happy that we've been able to maintain this.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you've influenced me greatly. It's great, and you've introduced me to some really cool dudes, and you made me think. And I try to pride myself on being a critical thinker. So man, it's been a wonderful relationship from my perspective.
Yeah, and look up, within the next few. You never know. I could be like, let's get 18 in because I'm getting restless now. So I think I may have to. I'm thinking I'm gonna get in the Tesla and just start driving. And
We can meet. We
if
can
I
meet
head east,
somewhere.
that
We'll meet and we'll find someplace.
yeah, I want to
I'm
find
in.
some golf courses I haven't played and a place that's not under total lockdown because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although out here, the further west you go from St. Louis, it's like nothing's happening. Like they don't even believe it's a thing.
Well, it's a
All the
different once
behaviors
you get away
are
from once you get away from the coasts, it's
well, I
it,
think once you get away from the central point in any geography, right? So
yeah, the
I'm sure if
population
you get
center.
further away from Chicago or from St. Louis or Detroit or
Yeah.
as you work your way into more rural areas, people have a different sense of what all this is. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate it.
They de-
I'm not gonna hold
ex-
you and tell Michelle I said what's up.
I will
She's
do
she's
that.
she's
Best to your family, man.
she's a gem. All
All
right,
right.
man. I'll talk to you.
Love you. All right, man.
Yep.